What's going on, good people? This is Balaji, and welcome to another episode of Demand Wars. Now, who do I have sitting with me here today? He is the founder of iCAD Marketing, the content marketing guy. They call him Mr. Metrics. They call him Mr. Revenue Alignment. He's the host of the Revenue Alignment Problem podcast, and he's tackling the problem that most of us struggle with, justifying our value as marketers to the C-suite. He's tackling it head on. This man is a truth teller. He's a soothsayer. He creates more alignment than a chiropractor. I mean, if I tell you, big man thing, you zimmy? Please help me welcome from Kingston, Jamaica, me brethren, Winston Henderson. Wagwan, Winston. You're good, Winston? Man, it's a thrill. You're coming through very, very clear, my friend. Very clear, clear like the waters off of the coast of Kingston. Listen, you are our very first guest from that wonderful nation of Jamaica. Thank you for coming on to represent. Not only are you bringing a unique culture, you're bringing a very unique perspective, Winston. I was excited when I discovered you on LinkedIn, and then even more, we talked about this, when I started listening to the Revenue Alignment podcast. So before we go any further, right, I need you to unpack this a little bit. Why in the world would you tackle the single most difficult problem marketers face in B2B today? Why? Hey, Winston, sorry, pause. Riverside is telling me, it says Winston's browser is preventing recording. Ask Winston to refresh the page. Riverside, don't play games, Riverside. Let's try refreshing the page. If it keeps giving us problems, we jump to Zoom or Google Meet. It's no problem. Yeah. Let's try a refresh and see. Google Meet. Sweating. All right, you're back. You're back. Okay, it looks like it's recording now. So, Winston, let's give it a try. If we have another issue, should we go ahead and switch to Google Meet?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we'll just switch if there's any other problems. That way, you don't get distracted and thrown off of your game or anything like that. But let's give Riverside another try. I'm going to talk to my Riverside people about this, though. I'm not happy with them.
You should, because I'm very curious why it's not uploading.
Yeah. We'll have to get to the bottom of it. Okay, so if you're good to go, I'll just ask the question again just to orient you, yeah? And then we'll go
Yeah.
from there. Okay, so Winston, the big question is marketers justifying their value to the C-suite and to other executives. In my experience, I've done B2B marketing over 15 years. This has been my single biggest challenge. Why did you decide to take this on? This is a lot, man. Why did you take on this huge problem on your show?
Yeah, and it's a very good question. And the reason why I say that is, to be honest with you, Balaji, I had no plans to start another podcast because I actually had a previous podcast called
Ah,
Conversation with Marketers.
yeah.
And it was a lot, basically the premise of that is I invite on, more experienced seasoned marketers such as yourself to
Mm,
kind of, talk through their story, their experience,
mm,
any tips and advice I can give to aspiring up and coming marketers or junior
mm-hmm,
marketers. So
mm-hmm.
I did about two seasons of that, I think. And then afterwards, I was just like, nah, this it's a lot. I mean, anyone who's really ever produced a podcast know that it's a lot of work. And that wasn't necessarily my main business. That wasn't the thing that was driving business and revenue for my business. So I decided to just put it down. But the revenue alignment, no, it's a funny story for me. I'll give you the summarized version, but it's probably, I would say, 7 years, 6, 7 years in the making,
Oh wow.
where when I just started, building my personal brand, the content marketing guy,
Mhm.
I did a research or survey of about over 100 marketers where I am
Mhm.
in Jamaica, and I asked them, what's your biggest challenge? What are the goals and priorities that you have? And 87% of those respondents said that lack of budget was their number one challenge that they have in terms of achieving the marketing objectives that they had.
Mm.
And then I think it was just over close to 60%, over 50% said that in terms of their priorities or their primary objective, it was something sales or revenue related. And then brand awareness was about 20 something percent, I think, in second.
Mhm.
But then when I looked at it and when I observed the behaviors of marketers, they're saying that revenue and sales is their main driver or their primary objective, but it's not in line, it's not conducive to how they actually execute marketing. A lot of it is very focused on brand awareness, very focused on top of funnel, brand affinity, which those things are important. Yes, I will not deny they are important, they do have their place. But it's one of the reasons why C suites, leadership, CEOs struggle to see the value of marketing because we're talking to them about brand awareness, engagement, community, stuff like that, brand affinity. And they don't care about stuff like that. What they care about is high quality leads, conversions, revenues, profitability. Those are the things that they care about. So at the time, I didn't realize how big of an issue it was. It wasn't until I really started to do more on LinkedIn in terms of posting, connecting with people,
Mhm.
following some very astute marketers, such as yourself, that I really started to see that this is not just a Jamaica problem, but it's a global problem with all
Global.
marketers.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, well, this is a huge problem. What can I do to really solve this problem? And the thought just came to me, well, why not just start a podcast and, give your insights, but not just you, invite others. And this is the key to all this, Balaji,
Mhm.
is that I wanted majority of my guests to be non-marketers. Not that I didn't want
Oh.
to have marketers, because I do have some marketers, but I wanted majority of my guests to be non-marketers. And the reason for that is
Mhm.
very strategic, because I wanted to get out of the group think that a lot of us with marketers, it's hard for us to see beyond a marketing lens. I said, well, I want to
Mhm.
hear from a salesperson or a person in operations or customer success or a CEO, who is running their own business. What do they have to say in terms of how they believe marketing
Right.
can deliver value? A CFO, and now from those insights, marketers can kind of get a different perspective, a different point of view. They say,
Yes.
well, as marketers, this is what we focus on. This is what how we tend to see the business. But now, what's that holistic, in terms of business, organizational level, not just on a departmental level, but organizational level, in
Mhm.
terms of how does everything now connect and work with marketing to actually drive revenue, and how
Right.
can we better align with sales? How can we better align with customer success? How can we get buy-in from a CFO or a CEO, to get the type of budget to execute the type of marketing campaigns that we really want to? So that's the short story, or the short version of the story, I should say.
No, I really love that, Winston. And you actually are putting into practice something that's so important for us marketers. You started with customer research. I've heard you emphasize how you don't like to start any project unless step number one is talking to customers. So you
Yep.
started with customer research, you identified the top problems, and then this is important. Like a lot of us will go into a new job and we may already have a playbook of what we want to execute. I think Megan Bowen talked about how she doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily want to start with the playbook. She wants to first diagnose the problem. And it sounds like you said, let me go talk to marketers and really dig into this issue. You came up with some conclusions that blew my mind. So I'd love you to comment on this, Winston. You talked about how marketers struggle with getting buy-in from the CEO, getting budget for their programs, driving quality leads, and even struggling to quantify what ROI we're getting from our marketing programs. Can you maybe help us unpack these major struggles that we marketers are experiencing?
Yeah, and I'm happy that you mentioned it and you picked up on it. Where customer research, I mean, you and I who are on LinkedIn probably almost daily, if not daily, we see it being said all the time. You need to talk to customers first. Customer research is important, but what I found is that what's being said on LinkedIn is not necessarily being practiced
Practice.
within organizations, right? Because I've worked with clients before, specifically the marketing team, and they're just
Mm.
like, listen, we just need to hit the ground running, we just need to execute. And many
Yeah.
times I have to tell them, listen, slow down, guys. Like, let's talk to the customer. They're like, no, but we already know what the customer. And
Mm.
to be fair to these marketers, Balaji, I'm pausing because is Balaji is how it's pronounced.
Yeah. You got it
Okay.
exactly.
I just
You got it.
realized I'm like, wait, I should have asked him at the beginning how to pronounce his name, but
You see,
all right, I'm glad
the
I
man,
did
the
it
man is
right.
doing customer research live on. Come on. He's a marketer, man.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, and I was just saying a lot of it many of the times is not the fault of the marketer. A lot of the times
Mm.
because of the pressure that's being handed down or trickling down from the top that hey, we
Yes.
have this window, we have this deadline that we need to meet in terms of these are deliverables that marketing need to
That's right.
produce.
That's right.
So most of the time, they don't even have the time to do the proper customer research. But
Mm.
I mean, for me, Balaji, as you rightly say, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, I can't even fathom doing any sort of marketing execution strategy campaign without customer research first.
Without.
Why?
Mm.
Because for me, that's the foundation. That's kind of like the epicenter of which everything else that I'm going to do branches from. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever strategy I develop, whatever content, whatever positioning, messaging, um, in terms of even understanding the customer journey and different conversion points, how to align with
Yes.
other revenue function outside of marketing.
Yes.
All of that to me stems from customer research. So that's the first aspect of it. And then I kind of have this 5 step process where, well, once we did what we've done that research, we developed a strategy. Then how do you take the buyer from or the customer from not knowing about the brand to
Right.
actually becoming a customer at the end? And
Right.
I go through 5 different stages, which is brand activation,
Mm-hmm.
which is let's get our name out there, let's get people to see us. So the things that us as marketers are doing and doing a great job at anyway. The brand awareness aspect of it, the brand affinity aspect of it. But now, once we actually generate this brand awareness and affinity, which comes back to what this show is about, what your show is about, how can we now translate that brand activity or that brand activation into demand for the products and services that the company actually offers? Which I find some marketers do struggle with that in terms of how to make that transition. And
Yes.
then also, once we generated that demand, well, we all know that 95% of the people aren't going to be ready to actually make a purchase right away. So how do you, I call it probably passive nurturing, where how do we nurture these these accounts? Well, not passive. Yeah, passive nurturing. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Is active nurturing, passive nurturing. Active
Mm-hmm.
nurturing would be for people who are in our pipeline who have shown interest and
Yes.
nurture them along that journey. Passive nurturing
Okay.
is someone who's probably following me on LinkedIn. They're not ready to become a lead or a prospect or a customer yet. They're not in the
Right.
buying journey, but they still enjoy consuming that content. And
Mm-hmm.
now the back end of that now is the sales conversion aspect of how do you partner with sales to
Yeah.
help them through that the rest of that customer journey, which is the active nurturing aspect I just spoke about. But not just stopping there, because at each stage of the journey there are certain things that you need to track, you need to measure, those leading indicators, until you actually get to those lagging indicators such as the leads and the revenue that we're after.
Mm.
So, knowing at the brand activation stage, we're tracking things like engagement, we're tracking things like the views and the website traffic, all the things that people would consider vanity metrics, but they still have their place because for me, that allows me, even just me posting something on LinkedIn, people engaging with
Right.
it,
Right.
using that qualitative or quantitative feedback to know, well, this is a topic that really resonates with people. I should probably explore this a bit more. And that's before they even decide to become a buyer or have any interest whatsoever in what I
Mhm.
sell. So, you know,
Yep.
using those metrics to track at the brand activation stage
Hmm.
versus the demand creation, demand generation stage, where it's all right, once we generate a lead, what are the metrics that we use? And that's that MQL to SQL conversion rate, that SQL to SQO, and to that close one. So tracking each of those different stages
Right.
throughout the entire journey. And then, of course, customer retention. But I won't get into that too much. Let's just stick to, the unawareness to the actual close one
Gotcha.
of a customer.
Yeah, this is good. I love how you broke it down because with ICAD marketing, Winston, you talk about a holistic approach to content marketing. Content marketing has been around as a term for maybe 20 or more years. So sometimes when people hear content marketing, they think the blog post, they think the webinar or the ebook. They're thinking sort of very specific tactical elements. But you have a different view. You take that holistic approach from the brand activation at the top all the way down through sales conversion, reactivation, and even re-engagement. So I love iCAD's different approach. That's good. Before we get into the questions of demand wars today, though, there's a term you came up with that I'd never heard anywhere before. You kind of talked about this lack of empathy between marketing and sales when it comes to alignment. Now, we all understand as marketers what we struggle with. We have very real problems. I'm not sure how well we understand, or even if we understand up here, I'm not sure how much we empathize with a salesperson's problems. Could you maybe, Winston, unpack some of the sales struggles that maybe causes them to not value what we're doing in marketing?
Yeah, that's an. Oh, I'm so happy you asked this question. And the reason why is, and this is not me bashing marketers. So let's just get this straight. This isn't a marketing problem. This is a human problem where
Mm.
it's very easy for us to only see things in terms of what we're struggling with. And you said it. But it's very hard, even just in our day-to-day human
Mm-hmm.
interactions, whether with friends, families, loved ones, if you have a wife, husband, whatever the case may be,
Yeah,
children.
yeah, yeah.
It's very hard for us to really put ourselves in their shoes to say, well, yes, I'm feeling this pain, this struggle, this problem, but what are the things that they're struggling with? And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I've realized, Balaji, and in interviewing people on the revenue alignment podcast, I've noticed this as well. People who have done at some point throughout their careers both sales and marketing
Yes.
are very easy to see both sides of the same coin because they are the same coin. So to answer your question, I just wanted to preface it with that. But to
Yeah,
answer your question, marketers need to understand that salespeople aren't, for the most part, they aren't paid a set salary, right? When a marketer executes a campaign, whether that campaign delivers ROI or not, they're still getting paid at the end of the month.
that's fair.
When a salesperson doesn't sell for that month or that quarter, they're pretty much not going on with anything. I mean, if they have a base salary, then great. But how much can a base salary really cover all of your bills?
Mm-hmm.
So think of it in terms of, and this is the analogy I always use, where let's say you are a marketer, and let's say, for example, you're being paid. Let's use 10,000, a
Yeah,
nice rounded figure. You're
yeah,
being paid $10,000 per month, right?
yeah.
US that is.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say at the beginning of the month, your CEO or your CFO comes to you and say, "Hey, we're going to take away 5,000 out of that 10." And the
Hey,
only way
hey,
you're
hey,
able to
hey,
earn
hey.
back that 5,000 is if you're able
Well,
to meet these KPIs.
what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Now, all right, look at that reaction that you just had. Right? That's a very gut wrenching, heart wrenching reaction because now you're thinking, well, the only way for me to get back, like, first of all, I don't like people taking money from me. So in order for me to make back that money, it means I can't slack around. I have to deliver at the end by the end of the month.
True.
That's the pressure that salespeople come under every single month, every single quarter, every single year, where they have to always be producing month after month after month, right? And then add to that, because I've done sales, so I know how incredibly difficult it is to be getting on sales calls or sending cold emails, trying to get that initial conversation with the decision maker or whoever it is, being shut down, time after time. You probably make 20 calls in a day. You're lucky if you even get to have 8 conversations out of that 20, and out of those 8, you're lucky if you can book one meeting from that 8 conversations that you have in a day. So it's the struggle of how can we get in front of the people who we can, pitch our service, pitch our offering to. That's a struggle for salespeople as well.
Right.
So that's a second thing.
Right.
The third thing is, well, once we actually get in front of them, we make that pitch. There's a constant following up, and I can tell you, Balaji, as someone who has done sales, that's the biggest headache for me. Like, I can be very honest. I don't like sales. I don't like selling. Because I'm someone where if you tell me no the first time, I'm just going to be like, all right, fine, move on to the next person. Where, as most salespeople know that you have to follow up constantly. I always say fortune is in the follow up, so I have to keep following up. And for me personally, I don't really like to chase people. When I'm selling, it's rather like I rather you just tell me from the get go that, listen, we're not interested, versus you pitch, you show interest, and then I have to be calling, you have to be following up, I have to be sending emails. So these are the things that salespeople struggle with on a daily basis, which is the reason why I always say to marketers that if you want a better understanding of salespeople, more importantly, the sales process and how marketing plays a role or plays a part to support that sales process throughout the entire customer journey, each marketer, I believe, should try to sell something for at least 30 days.
Yeah.
At least once per year for 30 days, pick up the phone and try to sell whatever it is that the company offers. Because that will put things into, that's literally you putting yourself in the shoes of the salesperson to understand, well, okay, I see what they're experiencing. I see the struggles and the problems that they have. I see the objections, or I hear the objections that customers, or the questions that they may have. Okay, so we need to focus our strategy on this. Okay, we need to start creating this type of content because these questions, these objections seem to be coming up a lot, and that's how we can support sales. And everybody works together in the end. Marketing wins because we get to prove our value. Sales win because they're closing more deals, making more commissions at the end of the month. The company wins because it's more profitable, and everybody has a smile on their face at the end of the day.
I mean, it makes so much sense, Winston. It almost makes me now ask, and I've had the opportunity to do sales before as well. So, but for a short period. So I was able to dip my toe in and say, oh, nope, that's too hot. And dip my toe back out. I didn't have to do it month after month, year after year. But let me ask you then, if this is a compelling argument you've made, why should marketers not then dedicate 100% of their efforts toward sales enablement, 100% of their effort toward demand capture and lead generation? Like, we really need to help these salespeople out. Why should we not just pour all of our efforts into that?
That's a great question. It's really great question. You know that? I'm not just saying that. Like, you asked really great questions.
Respect,
because
man, respect.
I'm sure these are the questions that people would have. And my answer to that is, and I've seen it, I've worked in companies, I've had clients, I've spoken to prospects, and this is always the case where this is why you need a blended approach, right? So I've explained why marketers need to support sales in that regard. But then at the same time, to answer your question, why do you need to focus on the demand creation aspect and not just demand capture? At some point in time, if all you're focusing on is direct sales, you're going to hit a cap.
Okay.
The company is going to hit a cap and a ceiling at some point. I don't care how great of a sales team you have. I don't care how awesome your product is. I don't care how many sales reps you have. It will hit a ceiling at some point in time. Now, in order to break, and the reason for that is after a while, you start to sound and come across as everybody else. So if
Hmm.
I'm selling a B2B, let's say for example, I'm selling a B2B tech project management software,
Okay.
and I have 100 other people selling the same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
I may be able to hit, let's say, 1 million or 2 million ARR
Hmm.
within my market, within my space. But then, in order for me to break through that revenue barrier, I need to sell outside of my market or sell to a different segment.
Okay.
And the bigger in terms of the segment or the market that you expand to, the more competition there will be.
Hmm.
So you need a demand creation aspect where you're able to differentiate yourself to say, hey, yes, we sell the same exact product, but this is why we're different. This is why you should do business with us.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, and I have a great story for this.
Mm.
This is why you should buy from us versus our competitors.
Right.
I was working with a client. It's a luxury brand, direct to consumer brand,
Okay.
and they were pretty much the underdogs. They like literally no one knew them in the market, and you had
Hmm.
some really big names that they were competing with, not just within their market where they were, but globally.
Oh, that's
Right, some
tough.
really globally recognized brands within that niche,
That's tough.
and they had gotten to a particular revenue level
Mm.
just through direct selling, just through partnerships, just through running demand capture campaigns, because they did have an internal marketing team.
Okay.
But then at some point in time, at some point, revenues kind of started to slow. Everything, started to dip in terms of the yearly revenue
Mm-hmm.
output that they were seeing. And when I went in, practicing what I preach,
Mm-hmm.
they were saying, hey, we want you to basically, they hired me to optimize their demand capture efforts through what they were doing using Facebook and Instagram ads.
Interesting.
I said to them, all right, before we get to that, let's do some customer research. I want to interview some of your
Oh,
customers. I said,
here we
well,
go. Trying to talk to the
it's,
customers again, Winston.
yeah, listen, you don't need to do that. Like, we already know what our customer wants. You don't need. I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you do, but for me,
Yeah.
for my peace of mind, I want. I know you know, but for
Yeah.
my peace of mind, I want to
This
talk to
guy.
customer.
This guy.
And they finally, said, okay, we'll arrange some interviews. And I did probably, I think it was 8 or maybe 9 interviews,
Okay.
Balaji. And at the end of those conversations,
Mm-hmm.
there's a common theme or common patterns that kept coming up in terms of why the brand purchased from this brand versus the more known, more
More
established
known.
brands.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I said to them, before we get to the demand capture aspect,
Yeah.
here's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Based on these top 5 reasons, I rank them from the most common and frequent responses down to the least, those top
Mm-hmm.
5. And I said, here's what we're going to focus, and we're going to create a strategic brand narrative around these 5 reasons why people buy from you.
Wow.
We're going to, and how I approach it is not just, hey, we're just going to post some content saying, hey, this is why you should do business with us because we're this and we're that. I said, let's create an entire brand story, brand narrative, like a consistent brand theme for 12
Mm.
months
Mm-hmm.
where we're constantly communicating to our target audience why it is that they should do business with us. This is who we are. This is who our staff is. This is why we believe in the things that we believe in.
Right.
This is what our customers say. And Balaji, at the end of that, I mean, I was with them for a very short period of time because
Okay.
they didn't hire me or contract me to do with that. It's
Okay.
just that I saw the need for that because most of their business
Ah.
either came through Google search, organic Google search, which is SEO, or through referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of that brand presence, they had almost no brand presence outside of their customer base and initial network.
Wow.
So I said, let's put together this entire 12-month plan.
Mm.
I executed with them for the first 3 months because, as I said, that's what they hired me for.
Yeah.
This additional piece is just something I saw that was needed and necessary for them to be
Right.
more successful with what they were trying to do. And I think at the end of that campaign, and this is a key point for a lot of people as to why demand creation is so important and not just demand capture.
Mm.
They saw a return on ad spend of 295% over that period. I think we launched a campaign for like was a 4-week campaign, which the typical numbers for that would be less than 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Or just, well, not less than, it was probably close to 110%, now
Mm-hmm.
that I'm thinking about it. So we were
Mm-hmm.
able to almost triple in terms of that return on ad spend that they were doing because of the demand creation aspect, because more people were knowing about the brand. That brand affinity, that brand recall starts to become a lot more present in their minds in terms of capturing that mind share, which inevitably allowed them to capture greater market share
That's right.
as well. So
That's right.
yeah, that's let me
Man,
let me let me pause right here just
that's a
to
crazy story, Winston. That's a crazy
yeah
story. And I think it's something that a lot of marketers would understand. If they see that kind of problem, they might be able to come to the conclusions you came to, where a lot of us now, although we may not have done the customer research, to be fair, so you were very thorough. But where a lot of us now run into that roadblock is, how do we convince the organization to make this big shift? I mean, you didn't ask them to change the product, so that was good, but you wanted to do all of this marketing work that was not going to generate immediate leads.
right
And that's where a lot of us marketers really run into a difficult place. But it sounds like you already had some trust. They already had some trust in your abilities to optimize the demand capture piece. And sometimes marketers haven't yet earned that trust that, don't worry, this month's quota, this quarter's quota, we're going to hit that. But let's also blend our approach.
yeah. So let's put it in the context of your show, which is for B2B marketers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll describe two approach. If
Yeah.
you can do both, that's
Yeah.
great. But
Yeah.
if you can't, pick one and run with it.
Okay.
So the first approach I would say is, in order to build, I call it marketing capital.
Mm-hmm.
In order to develop that marketing capital, it goes back to what I mentioned in terms of aligning with sales.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that trust, if you don't have that marketing capital, then the best way I believe to get that capital in terms of to give yourself the leeway to work up that trust, align with sales. Go to your sales team and say, hey, let's say your sales cycle is about 6 to 9 months, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the sales team and say, sales, what are the deals that you believe that we can close within the next 3 months? That
Okay.
you're seeing positive signals that we can absolutely close within the next, or you believe we can absolutely close within the next 3 months.
Okay.
Not the deals that you want to close that's going to generate the highest commissions
That's
for you.
different. That's different.
Yeah, the ones that you know for a fact that, yeah, the communication is great. Everyone's, the entire buying committee seems to be on board with what we're saying. We're just tying up some loose ends.
Okay.
There may be a bit of delay that is stalling the deal, but these are the ones that we've identified. All right, make a list of those and go through each one. So, all right, deal one, what are the reasons why this deal hasn't closed as yet?
Mm-hmm.
Deal two, deal three, do the same thing, and you make a list of. So you're interviewing sales now, because now you're interviewing your internal audience, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
as to what are the challenges and problems that they. So it's no different than you doing customer research for your external audience, but no, it's the internal audience of what are the problems and the challenges that you actually struggle with in helping to close these specific deals.
Yes.
And let's say these are problems that marketing can actually have some sort of influence over. So probably some questions or some objections that they have, certain things that they're not sure of. Probably there's some product comparison that's happening, and they haven't really made a decision to get off the fence who they really want to go with.
That's right.
This is where marketing can say, all right, we're going to develop these content assets.
Okay.
We're going to share them with you, and we're going to help you to move these, even just to move them one step closer to that close one.
Okay.
And we're going to work with you over this 3-month period to try and close as many of these deals as we possibly can. No, assuming that you're able to pull that off. I mean, you don't have to close all of them. Let's say you have 5 deals, that can close within that 3-month period.
Mm-hmm.
If you can close at least 1 or 2 of those deals,
Right.
like, first of all, you're going to earn the respect of sales.
True.
Because they're going to be like, we were having such a hard time with closing this deal, and you came in and helped us to close this. I have a story of that as well. I have a lot of stories. You helped us to close this deal. So yeah, you've earned our trust, but also from leadership in terms of the CEO, the CFO, they're going to say, well, based on our financial projections or based on how we forecast, we weren't necessarily forecasting that these deals would have been closed until 6 months time, but you're able to close them within 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that now creates a lot more cash flow for the company, a lot more revenue coming in that probably we can do
Okay.
with other things. So you're not thinking in terms of a marketer that, oh, we're going to run this campaign, we're going to post organic content on LinkedIn, and
Mm-hmm.
we're going to build up engagement and build a community. You're thinking in
Mm-hmm.
terms of business, what can we do to drive the quickest wins
Hmm.
to help us to build trust as fast as possible?
I like that.
That's the first approach. The second approach is where you start to now take, let's say, all right, we decide that we're going with the whole demand creation. That's what we're focusing on. We're trying to do that transition. I would say that you should do a phased in approach.
Hmm.
So don't just shut off demand capture and say, well, we're focusing on demand creation right now. As a matter of fact, I would say majority of your time probably even should be spent on demand creation. Let's say you have a budget. I would say keep 75% for demand capture, because whether we like to admit it or not, there are still people who at the top, those are the things, are the indicators that they use to see that marketing actually has value to the organization. So those MQLs that everyone keeps saying is dead, there are still organizations that believe in those things. So let's keep those things running, assuming that they're actually converting the way how they should. Let's keep the Google ads running. Let's keep the paid social ads running that are bringing in the leads
Mm-hmm.
to keep leadership happy. But the other 25%, we're going to run some experiments over probably a 3 to 6 month period. And we're going to say, well, can we execute demand creation in a way that drives inbound leads, or that, helps to reduce sales cycles that we have? Because probably someone came in and probably a deal that would have taken 6 months to close took 3 months to close because of demand creation efforts that were executing.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of run like a pilot project for a 3 to 6 month period. At the end of that period, take the data, collect the data, take the data, present it to leadership to say, hey, we've been running this experiment for the last 3 6 months. This is the result that we've been able to generate. We've realized that we've increased our inbound lead generation 25% over that period. We've realized that we've been able to cut down our sales cycle from 6 months to 4 months. Whether you want to compare it to that specific 3 month period, or you can even compare it on a yearly basis, that, hey, last month, this exact same time when we weren't doing demand
Mm.
creation, this is how long it took for us to close deals.
Right.
Now with demand creation, this is how long it's taking us in terms of that shortened sales cycle. As a
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact, we used to attract deals that probably would have run us, 10,000 annual contract value, but now we're attracting deals that are 15, 20,000 annual contract value. So it's using the data, running the experiment, collecting the data, presenting it to leadership to say, hey, we did this and we see that we're seeing enough positive signals that it's working. Even if the revenue isn't coming in right away, there are enough signals to say this thing works, and it can work if the right budget is invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, because I've heard instances where marketers have presented the data and it still gets shut down anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully you have a leadership that can see the value in what you do, what you present to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, you know what, Art, we see the value in it. So now you can start to phase it in, where before it was 75%, 25 for demand capture versus demand creation. Now you can probably bump it up to about a 65-35, and then you run an experiment again and then bump it up to probably a 55-45. So you take time and kind of phase in the demand creation execution versus just coming in and dumping everything in and saying, all right, we're going to just cut off all demand capture efforts and just focus completely on demand creation now.
Mm-hmm. That's why they call him the content marketing guy. That's why they call him the revenue alignment guy. I love that phased approach. That is smart. That is really, really smart. Okay. I was taking notes right there, man. I had to interrupt my interviewer role. I was like, this is good stuff. So we'll probably circle back to that theme. Really, really valuable. Winston, with your permission now, we would like to put you into the hot seat. Okay, the seat's been nice and lukewarm. We're about to turn the heat up on you. Okay, we're putting
Do it.
you on a desert island. You are the desert island marketer. You have no food. No, you got to find your own food, your own water. You have internet. You have a laptop and $1,000 a month in marketing budget. You've been asked to create demand. Okay, so this is the brand activation you've talked about. How are you going to create demand on such a small budget? That's your challenge.
All right. So before I answer that, quick question:
Yeah.
Is it a brand new company or product, or is it an existing one that already has
Oh.
customers?
Okay. So we're gonna make this as hard on you as possible. So it's brand new, Winston. It's brand new.
Brand
No
new.
traction.
All right. So here's how I'd approach it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do is I would define the ICP. So ideal customers, ideal clients. Who's it that we're trying to sell to?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at firmographic data such as company size, revenue, geolocation, years in business. I mean, obviously with $1,000 budget, enterprise deals is just off the table. Let's just keep it very real. Like, there's no way you can land enterprise deals with $1,000 per month budget. I mean, maybe you could. Let me not say that. Maybe you could.
It'll be tough.
But I don't think it's probable.
Yeah.
I think it's not that it's impossible, but it's probably not probable.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the firmographic data. We're looking at demographic data in terms of the job title of the people we want to sell to. So let's say CMOs. Another thing I'm looking on is the hierarchical structure. So who is it that the CMO, directly reports to, and who are other people that directly reports to the CMO? Because these are the people who, below the CMO, will influence the decision, the decision making process as well. Now, once I decide all of that, I'm going to make a list of accounts that fit within the criteria of my ICP.
Okay.
So let's say I have 100 accounts. The next thing I'm going to do is I'll probably, out of that 100, because I'm not going to try and reach out to all 100 at once. I'll probably start with 20, maybe 25 at most.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to add all 25 accounts in terms of, first, before I even get to that, I'm going to do initial research on those 25 accounts. So I'm looking on their website. I'm doing Google searches to see what have they posted in the news lately. I'll probably sign up for Sales Navigator because we're talking about B2B. So I'll probably sign up for Sales Navigator, which I think it's like 70 or somewhere between $80 to $90 per month. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
For Sales Navigator. So I'm getting that. That allows me to do deeper research. That allows me to kind of bookmark certain accounts. So every time they post something on the company page, it sends me a notification to let me know that they've actually, posted something new. The next thing I'm doing is, this is when I'm adding everyone to those. So everyone from that 25 accounts that, I've identified, I'm looking on, who are the people based on what we sell could possibly influence our buying decision, in our purchase decision for what we offer.
Gotcha.
So if it's a B2B tech product, then let's say it's a B2B tech product for marketers, then obviously I'm adding everyone within the marketing department, but I'm also adding people who may fall in the IT department as well. Because from my experience selling tech products, IT has a lot of influence and swing over what tech products actually get integrated and implemented within a business. So I'm adding them as well. The next thing I'm doing is that I'm going to split the budget, whatever budget remains from, bringing on or signing up for Sales Navigator. I'm splitting the budget between the demand creation that we spoke about, our brand activation and demand creation. I know you mentioned it as two of the same thing, but how I'm looking on it is two different aspects. I mean, they are interconnected.
Yes.
But how I see brand activation, that's the brand awareness piece. That's the brand affinity piece. So we talk about the know, like, trust factor.
Yes.
Brand activation for me is the know and the like aspect first.
Okay.
The demand creation now is where the trust factor comes in, where this is where I'm going to do some research on the problems they have, the challenges they have, and I'm creating content specifically to answer those questions, those challenges that they have.
Oh wow.
So it's split between, so brand activation, maybe, we're telling about our brand story, we're telling, why we exist, the things that we believe in, probably things around thought leadership. Whereas a brand creation is, hey, we know people struggle with X problems. So using revenue alignment as an example, marketers struggle with getting buying at a C-suite level.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how you can solve that. So that would be the demand creation piece
Wow.
of helping them overcome certain challenges and problems that they
Yeah.
actually have.
Yeah.
And then what I'd probably do is, after I've added people from these 25 accounts, I would just start creating content and posting daily on LinkedIn, or if not daily, at least 3 times per week. So kind of build up that know, like, trust factor, help to establish what we're doing, the brand, as sort of an authority within the space and a go-to resource that people can come to if they want their questions answered around
Mm.
our specific offering, because it has to be around our specific offering to tie it back to the product that we actually sell.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I'm doing that for about 3 months. I'm looking at the engagement signals in terms of who engage, and after I do that, then I'll probably message people who have engaged. Not the first time, because it's very weird to just, someone likes a post from you and then you're going to DM them, hey, I realized that you like my post. I'd love to share this piece of content with you. Like,
Right.
that's,
Right.
yeah, people do that, and no, that's a no. But if it's someone that you see consistently engages with
Yes.
your content over that
Yes.
3 month period, then you can say, hey, Balaji, I realize that you really enjoy my content. I created this resource that may be a whole lot valuable, that kind of deep dives into what I posted about. Here's the link to it. Of course, it's going to be ungated, so they don't have to sign up for anything. It's just for them to go and read and or consume at their leisure whenever they may have the time to do so.
Mhm.
So after that, no, I'm also going to take, probably, well, let's say I send the DMs and I realize that there is some level of engagement on their part, their interest, they're consuming that content. That's when I'd probably invite them to a one-to-one Zoom meeting to kind of go deeper into, well, we spoke about the challenges on a very broad, generic, high level. But what specific problems do you, Balaji, within your specific role struggle with? So now it's more of a one-to-one interaction, and based on that person's response, that's how I'm going to use now to actually start a sales conversation with them, that, hey, we actually offer this thing. Now, the reason why I say choose 25 accounts over a 3 month period is that you're not really going to know what resonates in terms of content. You're really not going to know what approach in terms of those one-to-one conversations and how to translate them to sales conversations. You're really not going to know what will translate to actual meaningful, demand for the product or the company. So it's more of a test and learn experience. But once we figured it out with those 25 accounts, then I'm going to add other 75 accounts. I'm going to repeat the entire process over again.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's how I approach it.
Woo, man, this guy is like a scientist. This is really good. You started off with the ICP stuff, Winston, and I was thinking, okay, yeah, this is good. This is textbook. Good marketers will start here. But you almost turned it into like an ABM approach, a lot of curiosity. You're creating content already. And to be fair, I didn't really hear you spending a lot of money, at least at the beginning part. I know eventually you'll scale up. But by the
Yeah.
time you're scaling up, you've actually tested your messaging. You've possibly even already closed some deals because you have the one-to-one conversations. I really like this approach.
Yeah. And that's, here's the thing, Balaji. Over my career, I've worked mostly with startups, if not my entire career has been with startups. And number
Hmm.
one problem with startups, they don't have the capital or the budget to execute
Very true.
marketing on a large scale.
That's right.
So for someone, them saying probably like $10,000 is a smart marketing budget. Like, I've had to execute programs with as little as
Oh
$200
my
per month.
gosh.
So yeah, I've learned over the years how to be very scrappy and very intentional with how I actually execute. Because
Yeah.
if you don't have the money or your budget is very limited, then
Yeah.
you have to still produce results.
True. That's true. I love that. I love that. Okay, you've given us a lot to think about, Winston. So okay, you handled that question fine. Maybe we need to give you a harder question then. So, Winston, we're actually going to give you unlimited budget, right? But now you're being asked to create demand fast. So I want to give you
Yeah.
three different scenarios. We'll see how you do with all three. Your CEO or your client has asked you to create demand in 3 days, in 3 weeks, and then in 3 months. How would you go about tackling this problem?
But my heart kind of jumped at that 3 day one. Yeah, 3 days. I mean, I've done 3 weeks and 3 months before, but 3 days. Well, let me start out by saying, and it's going to be a recurring theme for me because
Mm,
that's just how I approach marketing.
mm.
Um, let's say we already identified our ICP,
Yes.
right? Um, so let's use my example. Our ICP would be startup CEOs within the B2B tech space. Um, that's doing anywhere between $3 to $10 million ANR per annual revenue.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a subsegment of that ICP.
Mm-hmm.
So I may then say, well, startup CEOs that's doing 3 to 5 million that have their business within the territory of Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
Some very niche, very
Very.
subsegment of the overall ICP.
That's fair. Yeah.
The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to speak with sales.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, sales, I want you guys. Oh, let me break it down this way,
Yeah.
so people can kind of get context of the timeline. So
Okay.
I'm talking about day one now. So day one,
Aha.
I'm identifying the subsegment. Still day one, I'm talking with sales to say, hey, sales, all the people or all the accounts, all the deals that fall within this specific subsegment of our ICP. What are the questions do they have? What are the objections do they have? And I'm writing out a list of everything that they tell me.
Okay.
I may also use Chat GPT as well. Just to add a bit of spice to it.
Okay. All right. All right.
Right? I might put in that exact same prompt to say, hey, ICP subsegment this. What are the problems that they struggle with?
Interesting.
And see what GPT comes back with.
Okay.
So that's day one.
Yeah.
Day two, I'm going to review everything. I'm choosing the top 2 to 3 questions, the top 2 to 3 objections, and I'm going to do kind of branded video responses to those questions. So
Hmm.
whether it's the marketing team that's doing it or the marketing team can't answer some of the questions, get 1 or 2 salespeople to help out with that. And we're going to just spend the entire day just creating videos.
Wow.
Like every single question, we're just creating videos. Of course, we're going to prioritize the top, as I said, the top 2 to 3 questions, and
Yeah.
we're going to just create responses around those.
Hmm.
So that's day two. Day three, I'm going to now execute paid social ads to the
Hmm.
specific ICP subsegment that I mentioned. So I'm going in LinkedIn ad platform. I'm putting in my criteria in terms of the filters for that subsegment. And I'm running ads to those specific subsegments within my ICP. So I'm not entirely sure if that would create demand within a 3 day period, but in terms of that 3 day execution, that's what I would do. So that's 3 days.
Man, I really like that, Winston, and it shows that you're thinking like a marketer because you start with research, you start with segmentation, which is good as well. But then I like that you are bringing in the sales team, creating those branded videos. So I thought you were going to have the salespeople call out to each of these accounts. You still took a marketer's approach, a one-to-many approach, recording the videos and then sending them out to these different accounts. This is very smart. Let's give you a little bit more time now, Winston. I know that one made you sweat a little bit. So what if you actually
Yeah,
now, if you had 3
yeah.
weeks instead of only 3 days, how might your approach change?
Um, Not much.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to again
Mm-hmm.
that customer research.
Yeah.
So we have our ICP. I'm doing customer research to identify who our best customers are based on highest deal size and the ones that close the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let me put it in context. Of it. This is week one we're talking about. So doing that
Mm-hmm.
research, highest deal size, shorter sales cycles, and I'm arranging customer interviews with as many customers as possible that I would say purchase within the last 1 to 2 quarters. I wouldn't go beyond 2 quarters, so 3 to 6 months.
Gotcha.
So that's week one. Week two, I'm interviewing as much of those customers as I could fit within a 1 week period to do those interviews because time may be conflicting for some people. They may
Yeah.
not be able to do it within that time frame, but
Yeah.
as many of those customers as I can sit down with within week two, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be interviewing them. I'm going to be talking about um, wait, sorry, completely lost my train of thought.
No worries. I'm right there with
No,
you. So
yeah, like
you're
someone called my name and then like I lost my train of thought.
so you're interviewing these recent deals. I imagine you want to find out maybe why they chose your particular company.
Yeah. So I'm interviewing these customers, but not only because it's going to be a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
I want to find out what their challenges are, why they decided to do business with us over our competitors. Yes. I'm also going to be taking because it's going to be recorded. I'm going to ask their permission. Is it okay if we record it? We're going to be using this within our marketing promotion. Is that okay? If it's okay, then I'm going to take like 2 to 3 minute clips from
Hmm.
those different interviews. This is week two, by the way. So I'm editing that. I'm creating a landing page where the 2 to 3 minute clips, and this is going to flow over into week three. I'm going to use
Mm-hmm.
those to run paid social ads with those clips.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also building a landing page as well, where I would have pre-recorded educational videos. So let's say someone said, well, it shows us because of our brand and what we stand for and so on. And these are the problems that we experienced, and this is how we were able to overcome it. I'm going to take that clip, I'm going to put it out there in terms of running paid social ads. I'm going to drive traffic back to a specific landing page. And the reason why I want to do that to a specific landing page and not necessarily the website itself, the main website, is because I want to be able to um, kind of track, measure like the consumption of those videos because on those videos is going to have like a lot of how to. So, how we were able to help XYZ company accomplish that. So I'm using the 2 to 3 minute clips to kind of bait them to draw them in. But the real goal is to get them to those pre-recorded educational videos. I'm not trying to
Hmm.
sell. It's not for the purpose of pitching what we offer or trying to get them to sign up for a demo. I'm just educating them on our capabilities and what we're able to help them achieve if they decide to do business with us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's week two. And then for week three, based on those visitors, I'm probably going to retarget them now with, case studies. Because the first videos in terms of those pre-recorded videos would be the how-to aspect. So, okay, we were able to help this company generate a 295% return on ad spend.
Yes.
Here's how we did it.
Right.
But then on the retargeting backend, we would actually put together the actual case study to show, well, the process, what the process looks like. This is the result that they were able to generate over a period of time of working with them. So make it a lot more tailored to more of a story approach where,
Hmm.
hey, this is why you should do this. And, here's how we help this client. And this is their story. And this is what they were struggling with prior to working with us.
Mm.
And this was a process that we took them through, and this is the result that came on the back end after we finished working with them in terms of those results.
Mm. Man, that's fantastic. Winston, you have maybe an approach of really breaking things down into structured steps, and it makes it very easy to follow. So we gave you 3 days. You said day one, day two, day three. We gave you 3 week one, week two. I think sometimes there's this term I heard outside of marketing. It's called the curse of knowledge, where a person can know something, but then they find it so difficult to explain it, to break it down to someone who does not have that same orientation. And as a result, the teacher gets frustrated, the student gets frustrated. I think you're doing a really good job of bringing us into your thought process. And I can see why you're very good at getting clients and helping them to get results. So thank you for this approach. Easy for me to follow.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Now, finally, 3 months. Now you have a whole quarter. This to you, this must be like a whole 5 years. You can do so much in 3 months. What are you doing for us? We say we're giving you a whole quarter, blank check, Winston. Whatever you need. How are you going to create demand for us?
All right. So I'm going to take a slightly different approach because this is something that I'm actually working on. So I'll give you guys a bit of insight into something that I'm actually doing right now
Okay.
for ICAD. So month one, what I'm going to be doing is, or what I'd recommend is creating a very niche and very specific podcast series for a very specific audience.
Okay.
Right. So let's say, for example, I want to target demand gen managers for edtech startups within the greater Ottawa area.
Okay.
Very niche.
Very.
I'm going to be reaching out to those people now. I'm going to make a list of those target accounts that fall within that specific niche. I'm going to invite them that, hey, I have this podcast. It's called XYZ. It's called EdTech Demand Generators, or whatever the case, or whatever the title wants to be. We want to feature demand generation managers that fall within the EdTech startup space within Greater Ottawa, and we want you to be one of our esteemed guests on our podcast. We send out those invites. Some may accept, some may not. That's month one. Okay. Month two, I'm going to be interviewing them, scheduling those interviews, probably asking them questions around what their experience has been like, working within the sector. What are some of the things that they see that's wrong with this specific niche or sector that, they think should change, or, what will they do to actually implement those changes? What are the challenges and the problems? But here's the key to all of this, though, and I'm letting out my secret. I don't know why I'm doing this, but here's the key to all of this. This works on two ends. One, I'm getting the content created that I can use for demand creation efforts.
Okay.
While at the same time doing research so I can know what future content I can create based on the answers I'm getting from my guests. So let's say, for example, EdTech demand generators say, well, one of the major problems we have is getting buy-in for demand creation efforts within the space because of XYZ, whatever the case is that they give. Now I know that, all right, in terms of my future content that I create for demand creation efforts, it needs to focus on these topics, on these challenges, because it's basically directly from what guests are saying and not necessarily from my own assumptions. That's or right. Some Google search that I did.
That's right.
So two-pronged approach.
I like that.
After that, now I'm going to do post production in terms of those several tips. I'm going to send them a thank you note that, hey, thank you for coming on the podcast. But I'm also going to send them probably a 3 to 5 question survey for them to actually take to say, well, just to capture the data, can you read specific answers to your challenges, everything that you just said. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to put it within a kind of analytical, kind of empirical form.
Okay.
That I can put together now a research report. So this is the third aspect of it. I can put together a research report. So that for me right now is original research that has our brand on it.
Hang on. Stop the record. I need to keep this for myself. This is the secret sauce, people. This is the secret. Okay, I'm sorry. I got excited.
Yeah.
So you're creating original research that addresses the most relevant problems in the industry. With your brand name on it.
With our brand on it. Now, the podcast the other demand creation content that we create, all of that is ungated. All of that is free. People can just go and they can consume it, whether in the LinkedIn feeds or on our blog, website, YouTube channel, wherever it is that they consume content. But the
Mm-hmm.
research report will be gated.
Wow.
I'm going to create a landing page specifically for the research report. So this is month 3 now. So we're in
Yeah.
month 3.
Yeah.
So we built out that research report. We have, sent it to the guests because, they took the time to actually give us those
Oh,
responses. Say,
okay.
hey, thank you again for coming on. Here's the research report as promised. But then we're also going to take the same research report and we're going to run LinkedIn ads to our specific ICP that it would be relevant to. So the only difference is that this time we may not necessarily focus on a specific location like Greater
Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may be it may be demand generation managers within the edtech space, whether they're in US, Canada, whichever
Mm.
territory it is that we sell to,
Mm.
we're sending it out to everybody. And we're going to brand it as, hey, this is our original research based on our interview in our survey in X amount of demand generals. This is what they see as the most pressing problems for them. And another piece I'm going to add to that is because I've actually done not the podcast element, but I've actually done original research before.
Okay.
Because remember at the beginning of this, I mentioned that I interviewed over 100
That's
marketers here in
right.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did with that research report is I didn't just present the data,
Mm-hmm.
but I also included my interpretation of that data and also recommendations that, hey, this is the problems that we face. This is how I interpret this data. This is what I believe we need to do to move forward as an industry or as a profession.
Mm.
So it's not so much about trying to sell or expertise. It's more, hey, a rising tide lifts all
Mm.
ships. The industry or the profession as a whole struggle. This is what all of us need to do, coming together to actually help progress to the promised land that we're all trying to reach to.
Wow.
And I'm sending that out. I'm driving traffic to the landing pages with those paid ads, where people can download it. And also very important, it's not meant to be a lead generation or demand capture effort.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
very important I make that distinction. It's just to send it out to them when they provide their information, their contact details. They may get an automated response to say, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's the report. Oh, by the way, we also have this newsletter. If you want, you can sign up. These are the things that we talk about in our newsletter. So it gives them that option because one of the things I hate, Balaji, and people do it all the time, when you just fill out your information and you just want the piece of content, and then suddenly the following day you
Yes.
realize that you're plugged into someone's newsletter and you keep getting
Very
these
true.
emails from them every day or every other day or every week, and you're like, but I didn't sign up for a newsletter, I just wanted a piece of content.
Very true.
So give people that option where now those who sign up for the newsletter, that's when you're going to be doing that same passive nurturing that I
Mm.
mentioned earlier of you're just giving them value, but in their email versus a LinkedIn feed, or not versus, but on LinkedIn feed. So they get it
Yes.
in their LinkedIn feeds, they're getting it from our website, they're getting it in their emails. So whichever channel they choose to consume content, they're getting our content, which also helps us keep the brand top of mind,
Mm-hmm.
so that when they're ready to actually make that next step of, hey, I believe you guys can help us, then they'll reach out to us because we would have developed that brand recognition, that brand recall over time. So that's 3 months.
Woo! Oh, that was like an MBA business course. I'm going to call that the rising tide formula. Man, you're basically
Oh, that's
taking,
that's that's a beautiful. That's a
yeah,
great
man.
name.
You're
That's a
taking
great
the
name.
insights from the your ICP, the most insightful people in that industry, and then you're giving it back to them, aggregated. Each of them knows what they know, but they don't know
Yeah,
what 100 of their peers know. So you're packaging it all together, and then you're adding your own analysis, your own recommendations on top, which positions you as a trusted advisor, and then you're giving it to them for free. This is
yeah.
gold, man. This is solid. That's just too good. That's just too good. Okay. Thank you for that. That was phenomenal. I'm keeping an eye on the time here. I think I've kept you longer than I said I was going to keep you. Do you have a few more minutes? Maybe I could get a couple more questions in, Winston.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay.
I'm enjoying the conversation.
Oh, brilliant,
I'm
brilliant.
loving this. I'm loving this.
Wicked, wicked. This is great. This is great. Okay, so Winston, I'd love to. This actually could be an interesting question from a cultural standpoint. I live here in the United States. I'm from Nigeria originally. In Nigeria, our movie industry has exploded over the past maybe 20 years. It's called Nollywood. So we have Hollywood here in the US and California. We have Nollywood from Nigeria. And I'm framing this because over the past few years, media has become really prevalent in all of our lives.
Yeah.
Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and so on. I'd love your take, Winston, on this idea of marketing like a media company. Is this something that B2B companies should be thinking about, or is it maybe more of a luxury? How do you think about marketing like a media company, and how should us marketers think about it?
Yeah, so here's how I think about it. I don't even think it's a matter of if we should. It's more why haven't we as yet?
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that, and it kind of underscores something that a recent client of mine said to me in a post client interview that I had with them.
Hmm.
Where this person, typical questions you ask, like, did you find value in our service? Did we deliver on expectations? Why did you decide to do business with us, and so on? And in that interview, the person said something where, even though intuitively I know it, the fact that it came from someone who is a client who actually paid us money for the service that we offer, it spoke volumes. And the person said that, well, the question was, why did you choose to implement content marketing? Why
Mm-hmm.
not something else?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why not, performance marketing? Why not Google ads? Why not a host of other things that you could have gone with?
Mm-hmm.
And the person said that content is pretty much embedded into every aspect of digital marketing today,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's email, website, social media. It doesn't matter. It involves some form of content. And if you really think about media companies, all they really do is create content and distribute it across different channels, whether it's streaming services, whether it's on cable TV or whatever the case may be, online, through streaming platforms, or not streaming platforms but social platforms. Well, I don't think Facebook Watch is a thing anymore. But back then, basically different distribution channels. So I think it's a good move, and obviously, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to transition from how we think about content and how we think about media today within the B2B space, where it's more focused on, well, let's write blog posts, let's start a podcast, and let's just talk about our thoughts and opinions on things. Let's create a video series and just post it on LinkedIn, or just create some video clips and post on LinkedIn. I think we're transitioning into this era where we're going to see a lot more Netflix type content, and in terms of building that media company, where you're going to have a lot more episodic content.
Hmm.
So you're going to have a lot more content where it's not just me coming on and talking about this specific topic, but you're going to have actual series, actual shows, where there's a particular theme, where it falls within a particular drama, whether it's genre, whether it's drama, or it's action, or it's adventure, but within the context of a B2B setting. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of what Red Bull has been able to achieve with their brand, where it's not just about necessarily selling Red Bull, but it's about providing experiences and recording those experiences, and then creating the content and building the media element and foundation from those content that are from those experiences that's recorded.
Yeah, that's really interesting. A lot of companies have field marketing as part of B2B companies, have field marketing as part of their marketing department, at least larger companies. But I don't know if very many of these companies have made that connection between creating these experiences, which in some cases they're doing, but then turning those live experiences into content. And when you gave the example of Red Bull, I mean, immediately I pictured people snowboarding and doing all these extreme sports, right?
Extreme sports,
Extreme
right?
sports. And then I think of the Red Bull commercials. Red Bull gives you wings, and it seems to connect. It seems they're not separate things. The
Yeah.
events connect to the brand theme and the product's characteristics. So I think you're onto something here. Thinking like Red Bull. Winston, are you seeing things in Jamaican brands or Jamaican companies, even in the maybe in the luxury brand or direct to consumer side, where they're starting to integrate media more? It could be music or movies or popular culture. Are you starting to see that at all?
If I'm being honest, no.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the fault necessarily of um the market or the culture, because we have the talent. I mean, no, make no mistake about that. We have
Mm-hmm.
very talented, very creative people. I think Jamaica and even the wider Caribbean is still in the infancy stage of demand creation, content marketing. Infancy in the stage of in terms of when Joe Polizzi early in this decade or century,
Yeah.
well, century like he's been around forever. Within the last decade or two,
Yeah.
coined the term content marketing, right? It was really just about blog posts and writing articles, and
True.
then we transitioned to include SEO, and then we moved into more video, and then now podcast is kind of the main format. I think Jamaica is still in that infancy stage of trying to figure out what content marketing is and what it really looks
Oh,
like,
okay. Okay.
because there's a difference between creating and distributing content and executing demand creation.
Mm-hmm.
Difference.
True.
Because it's very easy for me, and I think the main difference can be shown how B2C approaches influencer marketing, where
Hmm.
as an influencer I can go on a TikTok, I can go on Instagram, I can make a bunch of entertaining videos,
Mm-hmm.
I can put it out there, but I'm still creating content,
True.
I'm still distributing content.
True.
Where the distinction happens between demand creation and simply creating content is it strategic? Is it intentional? Does it actually have business impact and deliver customer value? So we're not just creating content just for entertainment purposes, but how does it tie into the overall business strategy and what we're executing to deliver on specific business outcomes? And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot, I mean, not just Jamaica, I mean, I see even with a lot of international companies, that connection still hasn't been made.
Mm.
But I think once we are able to get there, and speaking specifically about Jamaica now, because there are certain things happening, there are certain wheels in motion, there are certain entities that is kind of building that creative and that creator economy. I think the piece that we're just missing is how do we make that connection between creating the content, building the media
Aha.
company, and having the business impact.
I
I
got
think we
it.
haven't figured out that piece
I
as
got
yet.
it. I got it. That makes a lot of sense. And it just means there's opportunity. So
Yeah.
that's exciting for those who are able to take advantage. All right, we got two more Demand Wars questions for Mr. Henderson. This next one we're calling the reality roulette, Winston. So the idea here is we've all seen reality TV shows, for better or for worse. we we want to now we've been charged with producing a brand new reality show, Winston, for B2B marketers. So can we go back into the history of all the television you've watched and maybe pull out one of the reality shows you found interesting and try to remix that for B2B marketing? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah. I have a good one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably going to show my age a bit.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Real World.
Oh,
I think
come
it was
on.
Real in
Classic.
TV.
Classic.
Yeah, that's probably the only reality TV show that really pulled me in and made me want to watch through several episodes and seasons.
Mm.
Um, so I think the premise is kind of the same idea. What you would do is you would have five different companies.
Mm-hmm.
and each company has a team of 5 B2B marketers. But they're all living within the same space.
Hmm.
Whether you want to put all 25, because 5 companies, 5 marketers
Yeah.
each, or each company, 25 people. So whether you want to put all 25 within the same house,
Mm-hmm.
or each company has their team of 5.
Yeah.
So one house has one team of 5, our next house has our next team of 5.
Okay.
And the objective is over a set period, whether, probably could make it 6 months, 9 months, whatever the time frame is. The goal is to create a campaign, execute a campaign for their specific service or whatever it is they offer, whatever product they offer. And the goal is whoever can hit the highest revenue targets within that period
Mm.
wins. Now, that's the premise.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you put people together,
Yeah.
we were saying in Jamaica that let me speak it in English so people can understand. Where basically, it says see me and live with me are two different things. Meaning,
Hmm.
us being friends and seeing each other every now and then is different than when we actually live in the same space,
This
right?
is so true.
So I think the dynamics of it would be crazy where, yeah, you probably see people, you probably speak with your coworkers over Zoom, you probably see them, walking through the halls, but how would each person interact now on a
Mm-hmm.
personal level when they're living in the same space for like 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where does a clash in personality start to happen? Can people really come together as a team and work together
That's
to
right.
hit their revenue goals or hit the revenue targets that they're given? And probably every week or every 2 weeks, they have to hit some sort of deliverable and meet some sort of
I
KPI or
like that. I
objective.
like that.
And that's how they move on to the next
I
round.
like that.
So I think it's a mix and match of a whole lot of things, but I think the most interesting thing is really the human element of it.
I love that. I love that. Part of the slogan for the real world is, see what happens when people stop being polite and start
Yeah.
getting real. Right.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
this is such a contrast, Winston, to what marketing used to be 10 years ago, where you have the brand voice. You actually have to speak in a certain type of way in all your content, regardless of who behind the keyboard is actually writing it. There's no room for personality. It's almost like the company, the brand is not made up of humans. It is just
Yeah.
this non-human entity. And over time, that has become relaxed. When I first started working in corporate, I used to wear a suit and tie to work every day. And over time, that is
Same.
now relaxed to where that human authenticity, even in the age of chat GPT and I think that now becomes something we crave. So I love this concept you've come up with.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is funny. Real world. Now I have to go back and watch the show. All right, we're about to play One Gotta Go. This is the final round for Winston. He's done an amazing job. Winston, we're going to give you 3 things, and you get to keep 2. One gotta go. Ready to play?
I have to keep 2, one has to go. All right,
Yeah.
let's do it.
So we'll give you 3 marketing items. You get to keep 2, but 1 absolutely has to go. All right, cool. So you are a marketer. You could either have, as a marketing organization, you could either have marketing ops expertise, performance marketing expertise, customer insight expertise. One gotta go.
Oh, that was a 3. Could you repeat it?
Marketing ops,
Uh-huh.
performance marketing,
Right.
or customer insight.
Well, that's super tough.
You
let me
can't have
wait,
them
let me
all.
let me
Marketing ops, performance marketing, customer insight.
all right, I'm going to go with performance marketing. And here's
Oh, it's getting rid of performance marketing. Google is not happy.
yeah. And the reason, like, when I think about it,
Yeah.
you can't have customer insights without marketing apps, because
Mm.
all the customer insights, the data that you gather, someone's going to need to organize it into in a way that can be consumed and is actionable. Someone needs to do that. Uh, and of course, I'm keeping customer insights because I'm all about customer research. The reason why I chose performance marketing is that with the age that we live in today, it's an added, but it's not a necessity to get results. Like I could still do LinkedIn organic or organic on any channel, even email, and I can still build enough of a following revenue generation from that demand creation, demand capture from that. Just by doing that in an organic sense, because I think what the performance marketing, the ads would do is just to amplify what's already working and help you to get there faster. So
Gotcha.
yes, it may take a longer time just doing organic, but I think we'll get there. Versus without the other two, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge.
All right. That's fair enough. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can give you another group of three. Here we go. Winston, you could have great brand reach. So you're reaching much of your target account, your total addressable market. Great brand reach. You could have great brand recall. So people remember, like I just remembered, Red Bull gives you wings, and people remember your brand. Or you could have great brand resonance. So your brand really resonates with your ICP. So reach, recall, resonance. One gotta go, Winston. One gotta go.
That's an easy one. Reach. That's an easy one.
You're killing me, Winston. Reach. We're marketers. We want everyone to see our message. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's an easy one. And you just said it. Everyone are trying to reach everyone isn't necessarily a good thing. Whereas resonance, you need to resonate, because if you don't resonate with people, then they aren't going to buy. And recall, well, when they're ready to buy, I want them to remember my brand versus the competition. Whereas reach, I may not reach as many people, but the ones who I do reach, I can definitely help to build an audience, community, and customer base from that.
It makes sense. I think in practice, us marketers do struggle with that, because reach is maybe the easiest one to get. As long as you're paying for it, reach is the easiest to get. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes reach can be vanity metrics if it's not turning into pipeline and revenue at the end. So that's fair. I'm going to give you one more, Winston. You've done great on this. This is now ad channels, Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. You can keep two, but one got to go, Winston. One got to go.
This is also an easy one.
Is it?
Wait. Let me take a step back. I was going to give a response. I'll answer your question, but then I'll tell you the response I was going to have and why I was going to choose that.
Okay.
I'm definitely keeping LinkedIn, so that goes without saying.
Expensive, man.
Well, we're talking about a B2B audience, right?
That's right. I see some sweat on his forehead. Some sweat.
All right, I'm going to say Facebook.
Ooh, Facebook is the cheapest channel, man. What are you talking about? That's the lowest cost.
Actually, my original response was going to be Google. But I was going to say, the reason I was going to give is because I can be very honest, I don't know how to execute Google ads. I've never done it before. I have no idea how it works. In theory, I do.
Yeah.
But if someone should tell me right now, hey, we're going to pay you to run Google ads for us, I'm like, listen, don't waste your money. Find somebody else.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah, but Facebook, I think, LinkedIn, obviously, because with the targeting and the filter feature that they have, you can pretty much reach anyone that you want to within B2B. Google ads, because it works great for people who are searching, who are doing category level searching. So not necessarily brand searches. If I say, CRM for marketing agencies, A Google ads would help me to drive traffic to my website. Even though Facebook is the cheapest one, uh, I would more go with the ones that are most effective for a B2B
Yeah.
context.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. I like that answer. On that note, folks, please help me congratulate Mr. Winston Henderson. He survived the demand wars. He's the founder of iCAD Marketing, the content marketing guy. They call him Mr. Metrics, Mr. Revenue Alignment. You have to check out his podcast. I think he has 2 seasons. It's called the Revenue Alignment Podcast. And he's tackling that big problem of how we marketers should justify our value to the C-suite. This guy tells the truth teller, soothsayer. More alignment than a chiropractor. We're going to make that a thing. Big man ting. Thank you very much, Winston Henderson.
Balaji, thanks for having me. This was fun. I didn't even realize the time went by so quickly, but it was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Winston very generously has offered next time my wife and I are visiting Kingston to give him a call. I'm looking for someone. I want to find the best places to eat and to go dancing in Jamaica. So hopefully Winston will be able to host us. Winston, thanks again. This was great. And I'm about to rewind this and take some more notes because you shared some gems.
Thank you. I'm glad it was valuable, and hopefully your audience thinks so as well. I hope I delivered. That's always my thing. Like, how can I deliver as much value as possible for the attention that people are willing to give?
Absolutely. We do appreciate everyone sharing their time and attention. You can find Winston on LinkedIn, and I'll include his other links in the show notes. Until next time, bye for now.